Welcome to the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report for Wednesday, October 21st. Very, very short show today because there's just not a whole lot going on today. We've got World Series Game 2, and that's about it. Football doesn't get going until tomorrow night, and tomorrow night on the show we'll talk about the Sun Belt game, Arkansas State, App State, as well as the NFC least divisional battle between the New York Giants and Philadelphia Eagles. That'll be on tomorrow's show, so it'll be a lot more football tomorrow, but today it's mostly going to be baseball. Let's recap last night. The over cashes with ease. If you like the game over 7.5, it got there with room to spare as the LA Dodgers offense exploded against Tyler Glasnow and the Rays. I mentioned on the show yesterday, the Dodgers' ability to hit the home run ball and the propensity for Tyler Glasnow to allow the home run ball. I thought that might be an issue for him and the Rays last night, and it definitely played out that way. And you got to give the Dodgers lineup a lot of credit for the at-bats they took. It was one quality AB after another. Work the count, make Tyler Glasnow work. And when I say they made Tyler Glasnow work in Game 1 of that World Series last night, that's an understatement. They forced him to throw 112 pitches in just 4.1 innings before Kevin Cash finally gave him the hook. That is impressive in terms of patience, in terms of looking for the right pitch, not being too aggressive, just making Tyler Glasnow work for everything he got. Think about that, 112 pitches in just 4.1 innings of work. That's close to 30 pitches per inning on average last night. For Tyler Glasnow. They didn't give him anything easy, and he was, as a result, because they drove up his pitch count so much, they got him out of the game in the fifth inning, and it changed the complexion of the game because Kevin Cash has to all of a sudden, shuttle in his middle relievers, and they worked, and that was the weaker, that was the weaker side of the Rays bullpen, just like it is with a lot of teams. The middle relievers and the lower end of the spectrum relievers, I guess you could say, they're not going to be as reliable and strong as those setup relievers and the closer and those high leverage situation relievers that managers use. The Dodgers got into that middle relief and they made good on it. It was a really good offensive display by the Dodgers last night. On the flip side, Clayton Kershaw, outstanding work. He got in a little trouble in the first inning, got his way out of it, and then he settled right down after that and just shut down the Rays the rest of the way and really silenced a lot of those critics. And they're out there in full bore talking about Clayton Kershaw and the playoff struggles and the postseason woes. We finally saw Clayton Kershaw not have as many of those last night. A really solid win for the Dodgers last night, 8-3 in Game 1. And now they'll look to go up 2-0 here in Game 2. Let's go right into Game 2. That's our game preview here on today's show. Game 2, World Series, Tampa Bay Rays, LA Dodgers. We've got the Dodgers around a -135 to -140 favorite right now in Game 2. The total 8 shaded to the over slightly at about -115 for this game. Blake Snell on the mound for the Rays. It's a guy you'd like to have confidence in. He's kind of had a up and down postseason. But I think in this particular matchup against the Dodgers, the one Achilles heel, the one area of kryptonite, so to speak, with the Dodgers lineup, and it's a tough lineup to say, you know what, they're going to get shut down right now with the way they've been hitting. Really, it started when they were down 3-1 against Atlanta. And since that time, this Dodgers lineup has come alive. Mookie Betts is on fire. Cody Bellinger's gotten it going. Corey Seager has had an outstanding playoffs. Even Max Muncy is really starting to get it going at the plate as well. I mean, it's multiple Dodgers hitters right now that are feeling it. Chris Taylor even with some big hits last night for the LA Dodgers as well. This lineup 1 through 9 has multiple sticks in that lineup for Dave Roberts right now that are in good form at the plate and producing on a nightly basis. So that's not going to be easy for the Rays to shut this team down right now with the confidence they have at the plate. But if there's one group of pitchers they're weaker against, it's lefties. They have been a consistently worse hitting team top to bottom against lefties. Their runs per game goes down against southpaws. The team batting average and OPS goes down. against Southpaws. So it leaves me in the position to believe that Blake Snell can have a reasonable outing here tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays against the Dodgers. Tony Gonsolin who's starting tonight for the Dodgers. He's a big question mark because we know he had many good starts in the regular season, but we also know that in his last start in the NLCS against Atlanta, he just didn't find any sort of zone, didn't get in any sort of zone, did not find any sort of rhythm whatsoever against the Atlanta Braves in that start, and he got roughed up. Which Tony Gonsolin is it going to be? One thing about the Rays that is concerning is they've kind of stopped hitting the last few games. Their offense hasn't been necessarily clicking on all cylinders. And really, there's only been one guy on this Rays lineup that's been consistent start to finish here in the playoffs, hitting the baseball. And of course, that's been Randy Arozarena, who has just been a remarkable story for the Rays here in the playoffs with how good he's been at the plate. But other than that, the Rays have seen a lot of their key hitters scuffle in and out of the couple hits here, but then back into a cold streak. This on paper is a matchup where we should get the Rays offensively to be able to have some good at-bats. Their numbers against righties in the postseason have been better than they've been against lefties. I mentioned going into game one yesterday, the Rays for the season, their numbers against lefties was pretty good offensively for this lineup. The numbers in the postseason and the playoffs for Tampa Bay against lefties weren't as good. They were hitting below 200 as a team against lefties in the playoffs going into last night. Didn't get any better against Kershaw. This is a better matchup, I think, here for the Rays lineup tonight going into this game. I also like that the Rays have all of their key relievers, their best arms in the bullpen, that very deep Tampa Bay bullpen. They're all going to be available. It'll be all hands on deck tonight here in game two. Nick Anderson didn't pitch last night. Pete Fairbanks didn't pitch last night. Diego Castillo didn't pitch last night. Those are arguably their three best relievers right there on this team. And they're going to be all fresh, ready to go for Kevin Cash. And I'd expect to see them if this game is close in the latter innings, which I think it could be. Wouldn't surprise me to see the Rays have the lead. Snell's been up and down, but the Dodgers haven't seen him as much. Mookie Betts does have a good track record against Blake Snell. Remember, Mookie Betts with Boston last year is probably the guy that has seen Blake Snell more than anybody on this Dodgers lineup. It's not I think, I know. Mookie Betts has faced Blake Snell more than anybody on this Dodgers lineup. So it doesn't surprise me. I know on Twitter, and I agree with it, the Mookie Betts total bases prop over 1.5 is very popular tonight. But you have to agree with it. He's hitting well right now. He's had good success against Blake Snell in the past. He knows Blake Snell better because of his days in Boston with the Red Sox, faced Snell a lot more. So I can understand people liking that prop with Mookie Betts over total bases tonight. I said yesterday, I was hoping the Dodgers would win game one. They did, so that I could come back and bet on Tampa Bay here in game two. And I'm a man of my word. I'm going to stick with it. I do like Tampa Bay here at the plus price, around plus 125, plus 120, plus 125 in that range. Blake Snell, I think, is a better matchup from the left side against this Dodgers lineup than Tyler Glasnow on the right side was against the Dodgers last night. The Rays bullpen, again, their key relievers are all available. And if they are, I think they still have the better bullpen. So if this game is close late, I think it's advantage Tampa Bay. And I do think this game will be close late. The bullpens weren't a factor last night because the Dodgers had such a big lead in the last few innings. If this game's close late, that to me is an advantage for the Tampa Bay Rays and their deep bullpen. And I like backing good teams off a loss. I've mentioned that before in multiple sports. And I know it's not so much baseball. It's more matchup driven in terms of why you bet a particular side or total. But you can't ignore the fact that Tampa Bay, their last 20 games coming off a loss, they're 16-4. That's pretty good. That's a pretty damn good track record for Tampa Bay. 16-4 in their last 20 games when coming off a defeat. That's been a good roll for them. And I expect it to be a good roll for them tonight. I like the Rays here at the plus price, plus 120, plus 125. As far as the total is concerned, with the Dodgers lineup in the form they're in right now, and the fact that I'm not sold on what Gonsolin is going to be able to accomplish tonight against the Rays, it's over or pass for me. I don't want the under at 8. I don't trust it. I think maybe a Tampa Bay team total over could be worth a look as well. Gonsolin, don't trust him to shut this Rays lineup down. You're probably going to see more middle relief from the Dodger bullpen, which is a little bit of a, I don't trust some of their arms in that middle relief core when it's all said and done. And you're probably going to see them because Gonsolin's not likely going to be an innings eater tonight. So the Rays team total is of interest, but I'm going to go Rays money line here at the plus price. And from a full game totals perspective, I would lean to the over here. Before we wrap up the show, a couple of NFL notes. Ryan Fitzpatrick, sobbing like a little baby today, talking about, I've been benched. I didn't expect it. It was like a kick to the groin, or it was like it hurt my heart and all this stuff. Will you be quiet, please? You are a backup. You've been a journeyman quarterback in this NFL for decades. You've been bounced around from one team to the next. I thought this was my team. You never have had a team that's been your team, Ryan. Why don't you get a clue? Why don't you screw in, pay attention, and realize what your career's been all about? It's been backing up. It's been a journeyman quarterback because you have never been consistent. Okay, and I'll give you credit. You played well these last few games for Miami and led them to victories, and you've played some good football. I'll give you that. But stop talking about how, this was my team. I'm the guy here in Miami. Now, you were never been the guy here in Miami. And now that they've drafted their future at quarterback in Tua Tagovailoa, you're even less their guy in terms of this being your team. I mean, to hear this nonsense of, my heart was broken and I thought this was my team. Would you stop already? You've been are you Joe Montana? Are you Jim Kelly? Are you Fran Tarkenton? Are you Terry Bradshaw? Are you Tom Brady? Brett Favre? Any of the great quarterbacks in our lifetime? Bart Starr, if you go way back, those guys, when they were the quarterbacks of their teams, you could say, that's my team. This is my team. You've been a backup. And for the more often than not, you've been a shitty backup. You've been a terrible quarterback more often than not. You've had some good glimpses when Fitzmagic comes out to play and get on a roll. You get on a hot streak. He's one of the streakiest quarterbacks going. But at no point have you ever been in a team, other than I think a few years with the Bills, it kind of felt like they were your team. But other than that, your team with Tua Tagovailoa, first round pick, waiting in the wings with all the talent and highest ceiling imaginable in the world. I know he's coming off a big injury where everybody's concerned about it, but give me a break. I mean, you make it sound like you just lost a member of your family. My heart is broken. Oh my God, my heart is broken. Oh, my team. I thought this was my team. You've been a lackluster, inconsistent, backup, journeyman quarterback, bounced around from one team to the next because you could never consistently get it done in the big moments at any one of your previous stops in the National Football League. Please spare me the crocodile tears, Ryan Fitzpatrick. Will you please? Because for all we know, they could have kept you the starter against the Rams after the bye week. They could have kept you the starter weeks after that. And for all we know, either as nice as you played the last few games, that moment when Cinderella, the slipper comes off the foot, that moment where Fitzmagic turns into Ryan Shitzpatrick and Ryan Pickpatrick all over again, it's just around the corner. Don't lie to yourself, Ryan. That moment when you go revert right back to being that bad quarterback that makes bad decisions, interceptions at the wrong time. It's coming. You're not keeping this up indefinitely. At no point in your career have you kept your little hot streaks, your little blips on the radar when you win a couple of games in a row. Have you been able to keep them going? So spare me the crocodile tears. This is a hurts my heart. And I thought this was my team here in Miami. No, this is Tua's team. The moment they drafted Tua, it was his team. He's the future. You're not. Live with it. That's all I've got to say about that. Just hilarious to hear. It hurts my heart. Like, you make it sound like you've been just this dominant quarterback in the league and you've been a number one for the last 10 years. You've had a great career. And now all of a sudden they're taking the starting job away from you. You're not. You've been a journeyman, for crying out loud, all this time. Just hilarious to hear that kind of stuff from Ryan Fitzpatrick. I know there's people saying he wasn't serious. He was kind of joking when he said that. It sounded serious to me, like he was really ticked off that they did this. it's about looking toward the future. And I at least like that Miami, you know what, made this move going into the bye week and give Tua Tagovailoa a chance to have a ton of practice time, get a lot of reps with the first team offense, so that he's as prepared as he can be for that game against the Rams. One more NFL note, too, before I wrap up the show today. The Las Vegas Raiders have an emerging situation going on. Trent Brown, the right tackle, diagnosed with COVID-19, tested positive. John Gruden holding all the offensive linemen out of practice so that they can get tested as well. All of a sudden, we're looking at a situation where the Raiders probably won't have Trent Brown on the field Sunday against the Bucs now that he's tested positive for COVID-19. Who knows what other offensive linemen test positive, and if they do, their status for Sunday is in jeopardy. And if the Raiders on Sunday have a shorthanded and depleted offensive line for that game against what is suddenly become a ferocious, strong, tough defensive front that we have seen from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in recent games, that is a huge matchup problem for them in that game on Sunday Night Football. And that worries me. So keep your eye on this just emerging situation. It's very fluid right now. We know Trent Brown is on the COVID-19 reserve list. The other offensive linemen are getting tested. Probably, I would think every Raider player at this point is going to get tested as well. I don't know why they would just say, you know what, we're only testing the O-line. What, he only fraternizes Trent Brown with the offensive linemen? That's it? He doesn't ever talk to the receivers or stand beside a receiver or a running back or a DB or a linebacker? I mean, what's all this talk about? Oh, the O-linemen, we got to protect them. Trent Brown, is this force field all of a sudden? He can't communicate or stand beside or talk to or look straight in the eye of a linebacker or another position player on the team? That's what I didn't understand. But John Gruden was saying, oh, the O-linemen have to get tested. You got to test the whole damn team, don't you? Trent Brown never talks to a running back or a linebacker or a cornerback or a safety. He's only around the offensive linemen all the time that he's, with his Raider teammates. That's nonsense. He probably got to test everyone at this point. So, but anyway, they just said the O-linemen are getting tested. I think eventually they're testing every player on that roster. But definitely keep an eye on this. We might be on the verge of a potential, not for sure, but potential COVID-19 outbreak situation here with the Raiders. That news just broke about a couple of hours ago. So keep an eye on that. We're already seeing Tampa Bay, by the way, take money. 3, and I sent it out at 3 just now, and I bet it at -3 because I knew this line was probably going to move the moment this news came out, and it's already up to 3.5 at Bet Online. It's -3 with Juice at -120 at Bookmaker. It's already up to -4. The Sharp and Pinnacle is a sharp book. It is always a book that is more of a sharp book than a square book, and or a wise guy book, whatever you want to call it. But Pinnacle is shaded to 4, and that tells you there is some big money right now that's coming in on Tampa Bay reacting to this news. So if you like the Bucs, or if bet it sooner rather than later, because we've already seen some Tampa Bay money come in after this news regarding the Raiders and this COVID-19 contraction situation that has just occurred. All right, that'll wrap up the Ian Cameron Sports Report right here on Pub Sports Radio for Wednesday, October 21st. Reminder to check out pubsportsradio.com every day for great sports betting content. And actually, before I sign off as well, I do want to mention the contest that's going on. I had retweeted it yesterday, and I just want to give you a little bit info on it because we're trying to spread the word here. Free contest available for free. You can win free Pub Sports Radio merchandise. Wolfspreads.com. That is the website, and the Wolf Spreads app. Download it. You can join the Pub Sports Radio Betting Royale, NFL picks. You can and be in a contest for that coming up starting this week. Enter the contest for free. Win free Pub Sports Radio merchandise. I retweeted the link to it. It's the Wolf Spreads app. Pub Sports is where you can locate that particular contest on the Wolf Spreads app. So make sure you check that out as well. Thanks for watching, everybody. I will be back with you tomorrow, Wednesday, October 22nd, for the next edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report. Have a great Tuesday night. Enjoy Game 2 of the Major League Baseball World Series. That's all we've got going tonight. And I'll be back with you tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Ian Cameron Sports Report right here on Pub Sports Radio. So that'll wrap it up for our Wednesday, October 21st edition. I'm Ian Cameron. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the games and good luck. See you again tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the Pub Sports Radio Ian Cameron Sports Report.